Welcome back to Trends and Friends. It's Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Binks from the Weight Management Clinic. Take a look.
Everybody would be very ready to admit that 2020 has been a stressful year. And oftentimes when I'm talking to people about that, they'll tell me that it's more about their regular life stuff as much as COVID. So the conversation always starts with, well, there's COVID, but... And I've given this a lot of thought, and I think one of the problems is COVID provides a baseline level of stress, just sort of elevates your day-to-day stress. It's always in the background, even if you're getting on with life a little. And then when we add things that are part of our normal lives, they just seem all the worse. They seem harder to handle, they seem to maybe last longer, have a bigger impact, and it's mostly because our resources for coping with stress are being so used up by the stuff we can't control that our normal life events seem to tip us over the edge a little, with one day at a time. I think, and many people know the serenity prayer that goes with that, understanding what you can actually change and what you cannot, being able to tell the difference between those things, but then focusing on today. With the holidays coming as an example, and maybe you have loved ones that are trying to really reduce their contact with the world and so forth, or all of those questions, what's going to happen at Thanksgiving, what's going to happen at Christmas, can stress you out. And if you add that to what's going on in your life today, at work, with family, politics, whatever your stressors are, it can seem so overwhelming. So I think taking it one day at a time and focusing on what you can solve today, what kind of actions you can take to reduce the things that you can control, is really strong advice. We're hearing a lot of interesting stories from people, and sometimes very negative stories about the way that their personal relationships are being affected. Just think about any time that you've been stressed in your life, setting aside all of the things that are out in the public right now. It can be your ability to cope with a spouse that says something that maybe wasn't ideal, or something that happens with your child at school, those types of things. Your ability to cope is a lot less because you're using so much up by not trying to be overwhelmed with day-to-day life. So cutting people some slack in your life for being imperfect, remembering that everybody has a level of stress. I personally have been trying to be a lot kinder when things don't go my way in customer service setting. The same things that worked for pre-COVID type stressors are the things that work now, understanding that you do need a break. I try to find places and things to do where I'm not constantly reminded of the current COVID situation. Going out into nature where you're somewhat alone and not having to think about whether that person's too close to you and those kind of things. Doing the deep breathing exercises are underrated. They do a great job. Just pausing and taking some breaths. Trying to not tackle things that you don't have to right now is another good one. Prioritizing and things like that.